And it's another episode of Spies Like Us podcast, the podcast where we talk about the representation of tradecraft on screens big and small. I'm Todd. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, what are we gonna talk about today?
We're talking about the IPCRESS File TV show, episode 3. Very excited to talk about this. I am super digging this show.
And if you missed the last couple episodes on this, you might want to go back. But let's assume not and jump into it. I feel like most likely people are either following along or they're binging this.
Right.
So yeah, let's just jump right in. Obviously, I mean, we could mention IPCRESS File. Obviously, it's based on a novel that most famously spawned the 1965 IPCRESS File film, which is one of the films that put Michael Caine on the map as an actor. In this one, though, we've got a different actor. It's Joe Cole, who we are liking so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Very different from what I've seen from him in the past, as we've said the last couple episodes.
His head jiggles a lot, and I'm not sure if that's on purpose. Do you notice that?
Not really. What do you mean, like kind of like shakes or something?
Just like very tiny, seemingly involuntary movements of the skull to the side or up or down.
Like those like angles he has when he's talking?
No, I mean, I'm saying his head moves.
Oh.
Okay. Mostly like while he's waiting for his turn to speak. It actually kind of looks like something I might see. I feel like I might see in a bad actor or someone that was like experiencing a lot of like too much nervousness being on camera. But I mean, his deliveries are spot on. So
well, that's cool. Yeah.
Anyways, he's just charming. Anyways, and they do give him some really great lines. In this episode, we're still trying to find our missing scientist. We know that he's been taken by a nefarious ex-spy named Randall.
Right.
And we've lost track of Randall in Britain. The only place we can think of looking is, we know that back when he used to spy for us, he worked in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. So it's the only place we can think of checking. So that's where we go and check. Over the episode, I mean, the Randall story is not really going to get any kind of resolution. Mm-hmm. They have a moment where they try to nab him, mm-hmm. but he's going to get away basically at the end of this episode. Got some character development for our principals. Meet some interesting characters along the way.
Sure do.
A Dalby subplot gets started. And we meet. And the Americans are coming to. They're starting to get suspicious of what's going on.
Yeah,
and that in broad strokes is what goes on plot wise. The quest to try to find Randall, who again has shifted his accent from a British one to a Scottish one, which is something I really enjoy seeing in a character. The lead they have, they've got there's 3 people they're supposed to kind of be interested in or on the watch for. There's a police chief that they talk to, and I mean, we're if you saw the episode like we do, you're gonna find out he's definitely in Randall's pocket. In this first meeting, he doesn't give anything up. Mm-hmm. Gene makes a pretty strong, I thought, play of basically putting it in his face that they know that he's been paid by Randall. Mm-hmm. And, it only occurs to me right now if, because she names a sum, an exact sum, and that really gets his hackles up. So we're presumed to think that sum is accurate. Question for me is that a sum that was paid recently by Randall? Because if so, then they absolutely know he's in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. Um, but I questioned like what Gene expected to get out of the guy by bringing that up. It's one of those cases of, to me, like, don't tell people what you know,
Right.
unless you're really going to get something out of it. And I don't see where that was going to go for her. And in fact, Harry backs me up, I noticed, because in the next scene, as they're going on to check out the next person, he says, "Do you think we could try to be professional this time?"
Right.
So I guess he saw it the same way as I did. Um, there is there's a failed attempt to contact a dem. A dem is I forget exactly why he's on their radar, but he's just basically a smuggler, drug runner, kind of man of the
Is
shadows.
that the guy they're looking for at the bar?
That's right.
And he turns out to be the guy later that helps them out.
He does indeed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I actually wanted to point out something about going to see the bar to kind of get a hold of him. Jean tries to give Harry a gun and he refuses to take it. And I thought that was a little clever because if you roll up on a spot that's probably where you're dealing with gun running, like warlord type, drug lord types, you probably don't want to walk in with a gun.
I agree.
Yeah. And even though I didn't like him just expecting to just waltz in and be okay. But
Right.
I liked that. But as it does turn out, it was a bad idea for him to just waltz in and be okay because he doesn't, and they're going to go take him. But I just wanted to give like plus spy points both to him, but really to Jean because she comes back and covers him. She shows up in the back alley with a gun. So she was pretty smart. Like, she's like, if this goes sour, they're probably going to take him behind the building. So I'm going to be there ready and waiting to protect him. So I liked that little bit of teamwork. And what was her line? Like, preparation is deterrence? Or was that his line?
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I really liked that. Just I might be skipping ahead on that, but I have that written down right next to that. But I really liked her pulling that off because that definitely shows some good teamwork and good tradecraft on that. And
Yeah, she continues to be wonderfully competent and really fun to watch
yeah,
in this episode. So that first attempt, but Ahmed will come back later. He'll Adem. I'm sorry, I
yeah,
keep wanting to say Ahmed. Um, he'll show up later on his own because he's curious. He wants to know who's looking for him and why.
right.
Um, in the meantime, they scope out the girlfriend, and there's something funny here about how the first time they try to tail her, she goes through this. She's on a scooter.
Oh,
She's
this
doing
is
her
Randall's girlfriend.
Randall's girlfriend.
Oh,
That's
okay,
right.
yeah.
Um, she's on a scooter doing her grocery shopping. Looks like,
uh,
and I take her. I don't have any reason to think she's doing anything other than that. And when she takes off, she drives through this narrow alley in her scooter, and their car, of course, can't follow. Um, what I thought was kind of cute about this, I just noticed this afternoon, is like the next day or the next time like Jean tries to follow her, hey, she's figured it out. This time she's got a scooter.
yeah. I will say though, which both you and I had the same thought. A blonde white woman in Beirut isn't going to be good surveillance. Everybody's going to see her. I don't care how many. She had she had a scarf wrapped around her hair and she's wearing sunglasses, but she has this bright blonde hair and definitely looks out of place. Just looking at the background, I think both you and I were like, I don't know how covert this is, but hey, we want to see Jean do stuff, so
That's
it's
true. That's
nice.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I really hate to say it. I mean, she does look very in place as a tourist on the veranda,
right.
but also, a less strikingly attractive woman could also very much look like a tourist fitting in.
Right.
Um, End of the day, I kind of feel like Jean is too pretty to be a spy,
Oh,
and I hope uh, I
well,
hope that
or I think
isn't.
you mean like pretty would be good for like like in high level society talking to people, but I think you mean like running surveillance like she is. She kind of
Yeah,
just stands out. Yeah,
that is what I'm talking about. I mean, and I'm just trying to be like, because in the spy trade, you don't have time. You don't have. You can't fuck around with, uh, political correctness when lives are on the
right,
line.
right.
So, and I mean, I've heard it said, even, I've heard intelligence experts say, tall people, not good spies,
Yeah.
for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, you want an average looking person with an average height, with an average like everything.
Maybe
Just
even maybe even a little short, because people just psychologically kind of discount short people.
yeah, that's true. Actually, speaking of psychologically discounting people, I forgot when this was. This was several years ago, but I think the SAS was pretending to be homeless when they were on terrorist watch at like high traffic areas. And I've heard people say that psychologically people like just ignore homeless people, like they treat them, they kind of mentally
Oh, of
treat them like
course. Yeah.
objects. Yeah.
Oh,
So
right. No,
uh,
your eyes naturally,
yeah,
instinctively want to move away from,
yeah,
the derelict.
right,
So yeah, that's a great way to keep a low profile. But, just don't try not to be memorable.
right, yeah,
And I'm sorry, but Jean's very memorable.
yeah.
But so on this now, right. And she told him, okay. So I was a little confused at first. Like, so apparently though, she wasn't actually like she wasn't going through the alley specifically to try to like stop someone from following her in a car. Cause she tells her boyfriend, like, no, I wasn't followed. Um, she says she followed instructions. I don't know what his instructions were, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But either way, oh wait. Right. So Jean, wait a second. They had a conversation with her at one point though. That's right. Okay. I've skipped ahead. Because before they decided to start tailing her, because just because you have this one person that used to know another person, that doesn't mean it's worth your time following them around, right?
Right.
Um, but they went and talked to her, and their little cover story is that they, he's got an inheritance coming, and they're looking to make sure he gets what's coming to him.
Plus spy points.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I did like that.
It's a good one. It doesn't fool him.
Right.
In fact, he gets really upset and says, to no one to the scientist, because that's just the guy in the room. When he gets the note, do they think I'm stupid? Blah, blah, blah. So they definitely did like tip him off that his instincts are up.
Right.
His spy instincts are good. He doesn't believe this malarkey about an inheritance for 1 second.
Right.
But before that, so the decision though that they made to actually follow her was after visiting her. This was Palmer noticing that the boy has a particular British comic magazine. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like kind of like just new comic strips
Mm-hmm.
in a little I don't know, 4-page, kind of like what we used to get in the Sunday Times,
Mm-hmm.
but sold separately. It's called a Beano.
Oh, okay.
And he says, hey, as far as I know, they don't sell Beano in Lebanon. So uh, someone British has been here recently,
Right.
is what he deduces from that. And that's good. That's good observation work. And that's why they think it's worth it to
Taylor.
actually follow her.
Yeah.
Um, that doesn't really get them anywhere though. It's a dem that's going to be their way in, because a dem will come back or approach Palmer on his own, say, hey, I heard you were looking for me. And, presents as really scary at first, and then completely relaxes and turns out to be a really fun guy.
He really
Uh,
likes helicopters.
he wants a helicopter, and he's really sticking to that.
I really liked his kind of backstory, because he is so well connected in the underworld of Beirut. Apparently, according to him, he used to work with the CIA just to move people. They would kind of turn a blind eye to his work, and he would turn a blind eye to their work, but he would help move people through Beirut. So that was kind of cool that we got like a little inside, asset kind of background with him. And apparently they gave him a helicopter, but when they were done with him, they took his helicopter. So he was pretty salty about it. So that seems to be his main motivation, is getting another helicopter.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
It seems to him to just be a badge of respect.
Yeah.
Like I can't be a respectable smuggling kingpin if I don't have a goddamn helicopter.
Right.
What all the other smuggling kingpins are laughing at me from their helicopters as they fly past.
Yeah. Exactly. And when he makes his demand for, or maybe, do we want to jump to that? Are we going to talk about? Yeah, like doesn't he give Palmer a pamphlet to give to Dalby?
Oh yeah, he's got a brochure and everything.
This is the helicopter I want.
Mm-hmm.
That shit was pretty funny.
Now, for some reason, okay, now let's see. Dalby reports to the Minister of Defense directly. Currently, the Minister of Defense doesn't think the mission's going very well.
Yeah.
And an estimation that is shared also by all of our characters involved. It's not going very well.
Right.
And I guess that's the reason they can't expect to get the $65,000 that the helicopter will cost. And by the way, I bet that helicopter costs a fuck of a lot more now.
Yeah.
From the War Department or the whatever. So they need to extract it from the embassy in Lebanon, and just happens to be good luck. The attaché. I don't want to call him an ambassador. I don't know what his actual role is.
Oh,
he
the friend?
acts like an ambassador. Yeah.
Yeah, because he knows Palmer and has discovered that Palmer's a spy because he can pick up on Jean, right? And or did Jean know him?
He's a friend of her ex.
That's what it is. That's right. And he's kind of in the background, and they're having like a little, he's like, I can't believe you're in this world, because he's very like overt type of mentality, like courageous. We fight our battles in the open, and look at you running this spy shit. And I think they kind of have like a little back and forth. Like clearly, there's a history of some sort, and I guess Palmer's the one that's able to convince him like how important this is.
Nah. That would not work. This guy does not like or respect Palmer at all. No,
Right.
It's the fact that his connection is mostly through his father-in-law, and Gene's got some dirt on him that he was unfaithful to his wife.
That's
and
right.
So the father-in-law, of course, would be that woman's dad.
Yeah.
And so get in a shitload of trouble. So lucky them that they can pull that off. We don't make a whole lot of it in the show. So that was okay. So we did jump ahead a little, but I guess all we need to do is circle back real quick to mention, and I don't think there's really anything there, but the way Ahmed came back into the scene is having figured out where Randall was holding the scientist. Palmer goes in at night. He finds the bedding. He finds the place abandoned. He finds the bedding and some scientific journal.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of tells him he's on the right trail. But that's when the police chief steps in and is going to kill them, and probably because Randall is paying him to do so.
Yeah.
But Ahmed shows up to save the day and says, "Hey, I got it all figured out. Everything that comes in and out of here surreptitiously, nothing goes past my notice." One of my men says, one of these days, instead of a package, you're going to be receiving a person.
Mm.
And I can tell you exactly when and where that's going to be. All I need is the money from a helicopter. Boom, boom, boom. Um, Dalby showed up in London for this.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he sent them ahead. Wasn't clear to me at what point it was determined that he should become directly involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but when he does show up in Lebanon, presumably to, I guess, give the thumbs up on the, or at least try, they have to at least ask him, to approve the 65K for the helicopter. By the time he shows up in Lebanon, the Americans have decided that they're suspicious of the British. And that comes about seemingly sort of out of nowhere, but after a conversation that General Cathcart, who's kind of in charge of the neutron bomb
Mm-hmm.
operation, there's going to be a test of it soon. Seems to be his pet project. He's very pro nuke,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a little bit of a catty conversation between him and Dalby where he's explaining, well, the reason we need a nuke is because I've seen, I was a pilot during World War II, and we firebombed a city made of wood, and like basically I burned thousands of people to death, and that's the kind of horror of war that we have to avert, and somehow to avert that, preparation being deterrence, we need a neutron bomb. And Dalby had responded by saying, well, I forget if Dalby was in Hiroshima or Nagasaki. I want to guess Nagasaki, but he responds by saying, well, okay, yeah, you killed 1,000 people. I saw like several million people burned so badly their bodies weren't even there. All there were like shadows on the walls.
Yeah.
And that's a fairly pointed way, I guess, of saying to Cathcart, like, neutron bomb, no good.
Yeah.
Cathcart thinks, well, if this guy thinks neutron bomb no good, then maybe this guy no good. And he has Maddox, who's our CIA representative in the story, the black guy that's always hitting on Gene. He wants him to start surveilling Dalby, and as a result of that, we'll see that Maddox's guy catches on that Dalby's going to Lebanon. He catches on that also there was a Stock's right-hand man in the KGB was on the same flight to Lebanon, and that Stock is believed to be in Lebanon. So to the Americans, it's looking like, hey, there's like high-level British and Russian intelligence people being in the same place at the same time. Looks fucking fishy. Let's find out what's going on. I think that's about the extent of it as far as we see so far here. There's a good little bit where okay, so when Dalby lands in Lebanon, everyone is taking note of it. The CIA is watching him, the KGB is watching him, hell, even MI6 is watching him. Meets Palmer at a hotel. Palmer's got this cool line of like, "Hey, welcome! It's your long lost brother. Check him out."
Yeah, this was so much fun to watch. Like what they did was because everybody's watching, they gotta like get him away, or at least the heat off of his trail, and they got like just a guy, because Dalby shows up in this bright white suit with a bright white hat, so not only is attention drawn on him because it's Dalby, but for like a spy master to just be walking around in this giant bright white. And I really liked this because it's this kind of like hiding in plain sight type of thing. And they do this nice like cup and ball type of trick. So he's in his bright white like getup, And then they found a guy that was like his height. They like, you know, the joke from Palmer is, "Oh, it's your long lost brother," and they basically have that guy leave and get in a car, so that they could take the heat off of Dalby.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fairly straightforward switcheroo,
Yeah,
um, which it's just presented cutely,
yeah,
and my favorite part of it is actually when the CIA guys are reporting back to Maddox, like, sorry, we lost him to an old trick. And Maddox just doesn't even trip at all. And he just says, don't worry about it. Best way to learn.
hmm
Which I just kind of quietly like applaud that so much because I'm so used to, I don't know, I'm so used to seeing American movies, I feel, where, every time someone fucks up, like it's a, the chief or the boss, it's like his opportunity to say, like, why are you guys so fucking incompetent that you can't even find
yeah,
one limey in Lebanon or something.
yeah,
But yeah, just best way to learn. Like it really speaks to me as being like that's how it really should be.
yeah.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
they do that a lot in this show where people are learning. You know, even with their training and their experience, there's a lot of people that are learning, and they're like, well, this is chalk it up for experience because you're gonna need it in the future. You know, like I'm glad you pointed that out because yeah, usually in a story like that, it's the cliche where you get the angry superior that's just being a dick. But here we got someone that's a little bit more supportive and has already, you know, they hired these people, right? So they obviously have an eye for talent. So they realize there's going to be some rough around the edges, like learning curve, I guess.
yeah, it's also just not a good time for dramatics or
Right.
theatrics. This is something I think we both keyed in on as well about Libero that we liked a lot. Is when they experience setbacks, people don't waste time pointing fingers and throwing blame around.
hmm
They continue just working the problem, even though you can tell like this is affecting them. They're feeling the loss, they're feeling the setback, but it's not time to lose your cool. You just got to keep the pressure on.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. You just focus on the mission. Let's
and
get
then
moving.
right, yeah, yeah. So they show up at the place where true to his word, Adem's intel was good. They have an opportunity to ambush Randall and his captured scientist, but that ambush gets ambushed in turn
hmm
by presumably the C. I mean, yeah, the CIA are behind it. I don't know if these guys are legit CIA agents that they're sending in. They might be like special forces or something. Just army guys. But it's it's a successful enough counter raid for Randall and the scientist to get away. And here's a head scratcher for us. What the fuck, CIA? You want to take a guess?
mm,
Like, I mean, we could start by asking ourselves, how did they find out about this? Is Ahmed playing multiple sides?
oh,
Uh,
that's a good question.
is
Yeah.
Dalby, like, were they tipped off? Is Gene? I don't know.
Yeah.
The only person I feel that should be held as above suspicion in this show would be Palmer himself.
Right. Or at
Um,
least from what we see as the audience.
right. Now it is true. Okay. I mean, if I wanted to fish for it, it is true that Maddox knows that Palmer met the blonde, snotty diplomat guy and that he
Uh-huh.
did talk to the diplomat guy. So maybe he could talk to him again and find out about the $65,000
Mhm.
and maybe put two and two together with Adem and the helicopter. But I don't know. It seems like they just got a freebie piece of intelligence. We're not privy to how they got it, but why? Like, or what intelligence did they get though would pertain to what is their objective in showing up here?
Mhm.
Do they know that that's Randall, and that's the missing British scientist, and they don't trust the British to uh, get him out on their own. So they're going to throw in some commandos and say, we'll take care of it. That would be really stupid.
Right.
It would make a lot more sense to, if that was your concern, to go to the British and say, hey, we have concerns about this operation. We know what you're trying to do. We have concerns that you're undermanned.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to put a team behind you. Are they actively trying to make sure that Randall doesn't get caught? Are they trying to make sure that Randall gets away with the scientist? This is a big question.
Yeah.
What they did makes no sense to us, right?
Are you talking about the raid at the end on the
Yeah,
ship? Yeah. Well,
the
this
guys
is
in
where we get a nice
black,
callback,
like
right?
looking like special forces motherfuckers. They come in with the shooting the flare or the smoke bombs.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they
what are they?
raided. They weren't there to help the British. Because they stopped the whole trade off. Which, by the way, this was kind of like our callback to the film, right? And like it was kind of nice that it was the CIA behind it. And isn't this where Palmer shoots the guy? Because there's a whole setup with him where he just doesn't want to kill anybody anymore because like
It
he's already been
is.
through
So
war.
this
Yeah.
is kind of where it goes a parallel scene to the movie where
Uh-huh.
Palmer killed Drew Carey in the garage in the
Yeah.
movie. In here, in self-defense, although there's no one around to corroborate that story that it was self-defense. That's really important.
Right.
Yeah, he does end up having to kill a guy that was coming at him, and he finds a picture of that guy's daughters in his pocket. Gonna become important later.
By the way, I call mad bullshit on that. If you're doing a sabotage mission and this is supposed to be covert and you don't want anybody to know that you're American or anything, I mean, like I know for the story going on for the show that picture is gonna like be a piece, but like, why do you have pictures of your kids in your pocket? I mean, like emotionally, it affects us as an audience because not only did Palmer shoot someone which he didn't want to, but now he shot someone with kids, so it's like gonna fuck him up. But if you're doing a covert like special forces mission like that, you're not gonna leave a picture of your kids in your coat.
well, but the reason, obviously, it's the same reason fighter pilots have pictures of their girlfriends on their dashboards.
Right.
It's a totem, to remind you of what you're fighting for and what you need to make sure you stay alive to get home to.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can understand the psychological, the emotional connection benefit sort of thing, but you're right. It's a bad policy, and probably, I don't know if there's actually like rules about that. Definitely not in the Army. I don't think they would have rules about that in the Army. And these guys, might. I don't know how deep their connection to the CIA goes. It's I think in a later episode we're gonna meet. In this episode, we just saw them as faceless soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna see some of the people that were on that mission later in the show, and not wearing masks. We're gonna find out who they are. So, and I kind of think that they're just Army guys. But yeah. I mean, at least it didn't have his address on it.
Right.
I mean, it is just a picture of a couple white girls. Like, how
Right.
much intel value are you really going to get out of that?
Right.
If you get captured?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, later it does prove to be a very important connection.
that's true.
So that's no bueno.
So just to cap this off, there were two other things I wanted to talk about. One very briefly, which is okay. What is happening with Dalby and Stock? And I actually also I kind of wonder, why is Stock in Lebanon? He pleads pure ignorance, almost pure ignorance, about like where the British missing scientist is. He says, yeah, we obviously, we've tried for years. Of course we've tried to turn him, hasn't worked. That Randall guy, he tried to sell him to us in Britain, and I didn't bite because I didn't believe the evidence. I didn't believe you really had the scientist. But check it out. You're missing a scientist. As luck would have it, I got a scientist I can give back to you. And that is going to turn out to be a woman's name. I guess she was captured just a couple weeks before Stalin was killed or died. And she she led the uranium enrichment program, according to Stock, for the Russians. So on its face, this seems like an incredibly valuable person for Stock to be offering to return, because, not only is she a British national and presumably a patriot, if she led the uranium enrichment program for the Russians, like, she would know more about their nuclear bombs than almost anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Super valuable.
Yeah.
But it also seems that that this person might be important to Dalby for actual purely personal reasons. Dalby, of course, turned out to be the traitor in the movie, and we were never given any inkling of a reason why. So if Dalby's going to turn out, I called it Duck Duck Goose, because it was just like, everything's normal, everything's normal, everything's normal. Surprise, I'm a spy. And show credits. Fuck you. And I'm not necessarily always expecting to see, like, to, give me scenes where I can see what the bad guys are doing behind the scenes, but at least make it plausible so that, like, at the end, after the reveal, I can go back and rewatch it and kind of see the clues of what might have been going on. So if we're expecting Dalby to again be a massive traitorous person, then it looks like in this story we'll at least get some support for that.
Yeah, it was nice that they developed a lot of the characters. I think you hit it really on the nail that in the original film, even though I enjoyed, going through the story, there was a whole lot that just kind of happened, especially like the CIA's involvement. And I think that's what this show really, really does well, is there's a lot of good reasons why everybody's involved. And we get, like, the big reveal at the end as to, like, who's the actual bad guy behind everything. And it's not like everybody's innocent, there's really not a lot of clear cut good guys or bad guys, other than, and even like Palmer, I guess, especially with his past, so getting the side story with Dalby is nice, because he's a master spy, right? He spent his whole life, climbing the ranks. Getting leverage on him shouldn't be that easy, but it turns out, like, his long lost love, who was captured and presumed executed, because that's what they do. But it turns out she traded her life for information on people that she was collaborating with. And so now the KGB shows up and is, like, dangling this carrot in front of him. And we actually get to see someone that's spent their life in this world, and now there's actual leverage on him. And he's faced with this decision of, what is he going to do?
Right. And you don't solely need the motivation of a romantic entanglement,
Right.
to dangle something like this on the hook, because as we've seen in a lot of our movies, and I think I don't know how much I've seen it in, like, real stories of spies, but at least in the movies, some of the ones I thought were really good had characters that there was that one agent that they lost,
Mm-hmm.
and they blame themselves forever for it.
Right.
And it's kind of like that. I've heard a reporter that has talked to a lot of homicide detectives, and that was like kind of his beat his whole career. And he says every single retired homicide detective has this one case that, after everyone else has gone to bed, they go down into their basement and they open up the paperwork and they just start going through it again, you
Mhm.
know, and trying to figure it out, because it's just this one case they were never able to solve, and they're never able to let it go.
Mhm.
And sometimes that seems to happen with handlers and their agents as well.
Mhm.
There's a good there's a good I don't want to, it's not a subplot, it's just a story feature, I guess, of Jean and her difficulties being a female secret agent. And I like the way this is handled quite a bit, although I mean I think she puts it a little too directly on the nose, where when she says like everything's easier for men.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I agree that a lot of things are easier for men, but
Yeah.
everything might be going a little too far. But here, she's not complaining about how she's being treated by her colleagues. She's totally respected. She's not getting any um, sexual harassment. She's not, doesn't seem like her career's being impeded. What's going on here though is like she's having a much more difficult time than a man might in ex- keeping her cover secret from her family and her loved ones. And that was something, again, we talked about The Spy with Sacha Baron Cohen recently, and I
Yeah.
remember noting that was the first time I remember it being like really explored, that you're not just you're not just keeping the secret from your enemies, but also from your family and your friends. And what is that like? And in that case, of course, it was a guy, and Sasha was like, able to tell his wife, like, well, I have to go on these very long, important business trips, blah blah blah. I have
Right.
business stuff to do.
Yeah.
It's so I can build a life for us.
Uh-huh.
And in Dalby's case, as Gene points out, he's been lying to his wife about what he does for a living for like 20 fucking years. And she says
Yeah.
he has no clue, or she says that she has no clue. Um, because, and we see it too, when he needs to go to Lebanon, he's like, sorry, hun. I have to go to Brussels, all of a sudden. And it's taken like, without question, because men have careers and
Mhm.
they have demands that are sometimes like, they have to go above and beyond in the hours they're going to put in, whereas women, and I'm not talking from my own, I mean, this is not me talking, I'm trying to explain the 60s uh mentality. Women, it's like, oh, it's really cute you have a job. Like, isn't that great?
Yeah, even her fiance, when he's like giving her that Chanel necklace, I think it was in episode one, where he's just like, "You'll never have to work again." And she's like, "What if I want to work?" And he just kind of like giggles it off, like, "Yeah." Here she is defending the country, and he's just kind of like, trying to like feed his ego about what a great earner he is. Like she's doing far more important work. Well, I mean, I don't know. He's probably like a hotshot business guy or whatever. So I guess his work isn't like not important, but I mean, she's pretty much defending the nation with the work she does.
Yeah. And it's just it's sad, but she's not able to make the usual excuses,
Hmm.
because like yeah, it's fine, it's cute that you have a job, but like it would make no sense that you have like a career
Hmm.
that you need to like sacrifice for and spend long hours to and spend time away from your family for. Like, that's what men do.
Right.
And the fact it's expressed that way, and just her appropriate level of anger about it, um I think is just a good story element that I wanted to bring up now, because and I've enjoyed it through all three of these episodes, but I thought now is the time to bring it up because now their engagement is broken off, and it's all come to tears.
Yeah.
or at least on his side.
Yeah, because he thought he was she was cheating on him, and here she is she can't tell him anything about her career and her job. And he went and looked in on whatever cover job she's been feeding him. We have seen this before. Like there's the Good Shepherd, and we got like La Femme Nikita and stuff. But I don't think it was. I think in the Spy and especially in IPCRESS File, we're actually getting a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like we're getting we're it's like marinating. You know what I mean? Where we're actually getting to experience the emotions and like really tight moments that like someone with a double identity or who has to keep secrets from their loved ones, like what they go through emotionally and mentally.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, zooming out and looking at the episode, I don't see that much has actually happened. Feels like maybe a setup episode again, like